esteemed members from the Research Foundation of India, respected expert Dr. Kunal Soni sir, and all dear participants. It is indeed a great honor and privilege to welcome you all to the concluding day of this enriching 5 days faculty development program and training program on a systematic way of research paper writing. This impactful initiative has been thoughtfully organized through the collaboration of the Synergy Research Foundation of India and RFI-CARE in association with Paro University, Gujarat. We also extend our heartfelt gratitude to our supporting partners, Shur Malwa, Ikla University, JHRF, ARGA, and Edu Academic Inc. for their gracious support and encouragement throughout this program. Before we proceed further, it's my esteemed privilege to introduce our distinguished session expert for the day, the exceptionally accomplished researcher and academician Dr. Kunal Sir. He currently serves as Associate Professor at CVM University, Gujarat. With over a decade of academic experience and 3 years in the industry, his academic credentials include a BBA and MBA in finance, PhD in management, along with several specialized diplomas. He has made remarkable contributions to his field with 24 publications in reputed journals including Scopus, ABDC, UGC-CARE, and Web of Science. Furthermore, he holds a government-recognized patent under the Intellectual Property Rights Act of 1970 for his pioneering research on techno-innovation and growth of the Indian share market. His academic excellence is reflected in his achievements, including 3 Best Research Paper awards at prestigious international conferences supported by UGC and AICTE. He has also been honored as the best faculty at Paro Institute of Management. His expertise has made him a sought-after resource person and session chair at more than 20 B schools, UGC, HRDCs, and research institutions across the country. A dedicated academician and continuous learner, he has conducted numerous training sessions on analytical software including SPSS, AMOS, Smart PLS, eViews, Advanced Excel, and R programming. He has also enriched his knowledge by participating in over 20 faculty development programs organized by the premier institutions such as IIM Ahmedabad and IIM Visakhapatnam. With the 19 research papers presented at national and international forums and 17 seminars and workshops conducted, he continues to be a beacon of knowledge and innovation in the domains of finance, accounting, and management. So let us all extend a very warm and cordial welcome to Dr. Kunal sir, who will now be leading today's session on the topic compiling references and bibliography. Thank you. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, madam. Yeah, let's confirm the screen sharing.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Right, thank you. Yeah. So good evening all on the concluding day for a systematic way of writing literature research paper. So the topic which I have been assigned today is compiling references and bibliography. So compiling referencing and bibliography nowadays with the consideration of the quality of research work, that is the mandatory aspect for all the faculties and research scholars. So it is very, very important, and it is very, very essential that ethical consideration, ethical way of writing research paper, and ethical part of research execution is very, very important as and when we are writing our research thesis, research paper, or even we are going for any research proposal for research grant. So this kind of factors and this kind of parameters are going to play an important role, and that is where we need to justify in a proper way, because until and unless if we can't justify those parts, it is always considered to be plagiarism, right? Either there are 2 aspects when we are writing a research work. The one aspect is the plat things that we are taking up, and the second aspect is we are taking up the things from the other people, but at the same time we are giving the credits to that particular people, which is called citation. And To give the citation, the one of the important parameter for all the researcher that needs to keep in mind is referencing. Now, to give the citations, there are multiple way outs to give the citation, and the whatever way out that we are picking up as a part of citation, you also need to manage those resources and bibliography in a systematic way. And that is where it is very, very important that we should compile, we should manage those referencing and bibliography in such a way that qualitative research works could be possible. The person who have done this particular work, the credit and the credentiality should also be transferred. And at the same time, we would also be able to justify and take out all the necessary ideas, props, parameters, technicalities, data analysis tools, whatever we feel that it is applicable to our research. So we would able to give the directions to our research work in a proper way. And that is where the referencing and bibliographies are playing very essential role, starting from identifying the problem statement through the literature review. Till the time you are not concluding your research work through findings and conclusion, the referencing and bibliography are most important essential parameters that we have to take up in a very serious way. And that is where compiling and referencing and bibliography is very, very important. So with this particular introductory part, I would like to start my presentation. So in this presentation, what we are going to see, meaning of referencing and bibliography. People are considering both are same, but let's see both are same or they have some differentiation. How to start bibliography and referencing as a part of researcher. If you are a new researcher, right? So obviously you have a lot of question in your mind, how to start, when to start, why to start, right? So there are so many ifs and buts that you have to see to it. And according to that, we have to start the bibliography. Why do we need to have the referencing and bibliography, right? So if at all we are writing a research paper, we need to ask the reason why we need this referencing and bibliography. So that is where we also have to portray the reason for, having this referencing and bibliography in our pocket. Then we also need to see different types of referencing and bibliography. What are the different types, different, genres through which we can take out the referencing and bibliography. So there are 30, 35 plus, the style of and types of referencing and bibliography. But which type of referencing and bibliography that we need to incorporate or that we need to give the place to our research paper, that is always a talk of the town. That is always a discussion point, and the answer is lying on the author's guideline. Either you are going to do the PhD work from the university side, so you must have to refer the university circular. And if at all you are trying to publish your paper into quality journal, so it is very essential that every author should read the author's guideline very carefully, wherein all the instructions has been mentioned in terms of how the citation needs to be done, how the referencing and bibliography needs to be incorporated, right? So this is very important that we should have a, very prompt and, very proper approach in terms of identifying those kind of information. Then only we would be able to justify the things in a proper way, right? In a certain papers or certain universities, they are giving the priorities for, the endnotes. There are certain ways wherein they are giving priorities for footnotes. There are certain way wherein they are giving priorities, no endnote, no footnotes. They are just putting the numbers of the referencing and bibliography that you have kept at the end of the thesis, right? Just like 1 and 2. And they're just maintaining separate part of referencing bibliography. So yes, there are so many styles, there are so many ways, to manage all these things. But which things you need to manage, that is depends upon the guidelines for the respective publishers or the university and institute wherein you need to submit your work, either in terms of thesis, papers, and research proposals, or finally the projects for the minor and major research work. What elements of referencing and bibliography needs to be considered? So if at all we are writing referencing and bibliography, right? So what are the different elements that could be the part of the referencing and bibliography? So we know that certain information that you always find it out whenever you are referring any referencing and bibliography in any of the paper, thesis, wherever you have referred for the research work. That is in terms of the author's name, year of publications, title of the paper, right? Journal name, volume number, issue number, page number, and so on, right? So that is where the elements that is needs to be considered. Which format needs to be considered, right? So that is where we have to take out the various formats Like, are you preferring for APA style? Are you going to prefer for MLS style? Are you going to prefer APA for 7th edition, right? 7th APA style? Are you going to prefer Chicago referencing and bibliography style? Are you going to refer the Harvard referencing and bibliography style, right? So these are different formats that we need to see to it. But which format is going to be applicable to us? That is where we have to have the complete observation as far as the submission guidelines and authors guidelines has been issued by respective universities and the publishers. And finally, we will also see what is the difference between referencing and bibliography. Either they are same or they are different. If at all they are different, what are the thin line of difference that referencing and bibliography that have it? We will also try to see and try to understand the basic thin line of difference between these two aspects, wherein we would be able to justify our research work in a proper way. Fine. Okay. So, meaning of referencing and bibliography. What is the meaning, right? So, it's typically refers the sections at the end of the paper, right, where you list out all the sources that you have cited, as I already mentioned. The information that you are taking from any of the researcher who has done the research on that particular topic, which is directly or indirectly connected with your topic, wherein you are writing some meaning, you're justifying your variable, right? Wherein this research work has already worked out on this variable, and you find that this topic or this particular portion will definitely justify and give the justification to your title and the write-up that you need to write it out. You must have to cite those author, and you must need to give the credit to that author, because this author has made your journey easy, because it has given some idea and it made it possible to finish it up 2-3 lines of your research paper, right? Wherein we should have, the kind gesture that we should give the credit to that particular author, and that is where in research this process is called citation. So whenever you need to cite them, you need to write the author name and year of publication, and to refer those papers for the future aspect or for the review aspect, for the reviewer's point of view or the editor's point of view, or from PhD aspect for the reviewers, right? So they must have some address of this paper, and those address is nothing but the referencing and bibliography that we are going to give them at the end of the paper, right? So that is where the role of references is very important in terms of justifying the overall acceptance or rejection decisions for the papers or the thesis or the research minor major research proposal or the final projects, right? The importance of referencing is immense, right? Because the basic difference between referencing and bibliography, if at all I need to ask you, right, how the references is going to differentiate between your work and the other works. Can I have the answers from the audience? Right. If you are referring any paper, right, how referencing will help you out to differentiate that this is your work and this is the other's work? Any signaling language that you can identify from the papers? Yeah. Any answers from the audience? No is also answer, right? So if you don't have the answer, kindly confirm no. So that is also I consider as the answer. How can you differentiate, right, that this is your work? Or else if if you are referring any previous research work, right, as a part of literature review, so then how can you identify that this is the work that this particular author has done it, and this is the work that this particular author has taken up from the previous authors that he has referred for his research paper or research work? How can you differentiate? And that is why research is considered to be scientific process, right? Wherein each and every sentence is having some meanings and communication language, right? The moment you read any sentences, it has a meaning that this sentence has been given by this author, or this sentence has been given by the other author, that this particular author has referred to their previous authors, right? So how can you differentiate that? You can unmute yourself, right? I cannot see the chat box. Yeah, any answers quickly, or else we can go ahead. Okay, fine. So the language that we have to see to it is, when you read a research paper, please see these things very carefully. Whenever you read introduction, literature review, or methodology part, you must have seen the citations. I hope you have seen it. Yes or no? Whenever we are referring introduction, LR and research methodology, we have seen the citations. That is author's name and year of publications. If I'm talking about systematic literature review paper like Scopus, ABDC, Web of Science, right? But if you come to the analysis part, right, mainly the citation process is very less until and unless to justify some theory or some concept wherein the citation has been given. When the actual analysis and the interpretation of the data that has to be done, the citation is not there, right? Because you don't need to give the citations to that particular thing, because this is your own work, this is your own result, right? Wherein you should not give the credit to someone, but because it is your credit, right? So whenever you read any papers of previous authors from Scopus, ABDC, Web of Science, Quality Journal, wherever every sentence a citation has been given, that means this is not the sentence that this particular researcher has made it, but this particular researcher has taken the reference of a previous researcher that this theory is supporting in this way, and that is where this researcher has created fundamental boundaries and fundamental grounds to give the shape of him, to give the shape of his research. And to give the shape of the research, he must be identified the gap through having a proper literature review, and that is where he has created a blueprint. And that is where research methodology or research design, especially in research methodology, it is called the planning and execution of the entire research work that every researcher is going to give it as far as the research paper, research thesis, research project or research proposal is concerned, right? And this thing is going to be identified whether this work is of the researcher of his own, or this is the researcher has taken up the reference from someone. That is where the referencing and bibliography plays a very important role by looking at the citations. I hope it is clear. Yes or no? And this source, right? Thank you. I always like to have interactive sessions, right? Thank you. This references could also include books, journal articles. So this kind of references can always be taken up from the articles, website, reports that we have it from companies' performance, or even, if you're looking for CSR initiative reports, right? That how much companies making fundings, in terms of number of, companies, number of organizations, number of employees. Right. So this kind of information can always be gettable from this kind of reports, wherein you need to give the references to that. And any other material that directly or indirectly contributes in the development of your work, that is the further blueprints and the fundamental things that you need to execute as a part of research. And that is where referencing sections usually follows the main body of the text and any appendices, right? So that is where what I was trying to say, that, if you are reading any research paper, that how you can differentiate between the work that has been done by the researcher and the work that researcher has taken from the other researcher. That is where the main body of text, right? So if I need to differentiate between the entire research paper, so there is mainly three parts of the body of the research work. That is, first is introduction. The second is main body of text. This is second one. And the third one is later part, right? Or the end body, right? So main text of the body means in introduction, you have title page, abstract and keywords. The main body of the text is considered to be introduction, LR, research methodology, and data analysis and conclusion. And later stage is finding, conclusion, societal importance, suggestions, and the referencing, right? So as I already mentioned, that references section usually follows the main body of text. Means whatever justification of the data, the theory which has been given to you, you always put the citations over here for every sentences that you are writing as a part of introduction, LR, and methodology. And the sentences which has been given, so you will cite the person over here, and whatever person to whom you are citing over here, you will give the referencing at the later stage. And that's why this particular line says that reference sections usually follows the main body of the text, means it is a representation of this main body of text. Understood?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. So that is where each entry of the reference list includes essential bibliographic information, such as, right, that is where the elements, right? If we are saying that we are writing referencing and bibliography, then which elements that referencing and bibliography is covering? So basically it is author's name, right? Year of publication, that is year of publication with date, title of the paper, right? Journal name, that is publisher, right? Volume number, issue number, and many other parameters which is going to be applicable as a part of it, right? So this is what the meaning of referencing in bibliography. So what is the benefit of referencing in bibliography, right? So it always helps you out to narrow down your focus, right? I hope you all aware about that, how you can define your research idea, right? So research, I always start with the broad idea, right? We always have a broad idea. We went to the market, we have observed something, we have seen something, and based on whatever things that we have look at to it, we would have some ideas in our mind that what to do, what not to do. And that is where we can narrow down the topic, yes or no, right? It always starts from the broad way, right? And then it will narrow down, because if we do the research on every aspect, we could not justify any one aspect. But if our research is a narrow down approach, wherein we are having one small things as a part of observation, and that is where we could do the research on this particular aspect, right? So it will have the proper and focused approach for identifying the problem, and at the same time to justifying the problem. That is where the referencing and bibliography plays an important role, right? So that the proper literature review could be possible, and out of all the literature review that we are going to refer as a part of our research topic, the literature review should always have something or anything to communicate to the researcher as a part of supporting elements of the topic. And that is where referencing is always going to help you out to narrow down your topic. Then referencing always help you out to identify your research which is ethically correct, original, and most importantly, it has significance. It has some market importance. It has some market value, right? So that is where you always have to identify your research which is ethically correct. It should be completely original. And most importantly, it is very significant to the market to whom you are producing. That means it should be significant to your target audience, wherein it has some meaningful outcomes that is going to be provided to the society. It also helps you out to find the research in a focused area, right? Research always identified, and the reference always helps the research to find out the focus area, right? So whenever we have think about it, to do the research on particular topic, or it was a rough topic, wherein we don't have much idea that, what are the, innovations, or what are the, creation has already happened on this topic, and what other creation that we can create on this topic, right? So we were not aware about it, right? We were completely blind in that particular part, right? But through the literature review, with the help of the references that has been kept by other researcher in their paper, we would be able to find out. Can you have the view, please? We would be able to find out the focused area wherein we need to drag our research work to the most and the fullest efficient manner, wherein this research is going to be most helpful to the society. And when I'm saying that the research is going to be full of helpful to the society, that means my research work should stand out to the most extent to the societal importance. The society should get the benefit out of the entire process. And if the societal importance will be created by the any research work, the acceptance of this research work is always going to be benefit. And that is where it should be fundamentally strong. It should be full of focused area. And at the same time, it should not be broad approach in terms of identifying the research area and the problems, but it should be very focused and narrow down approach. And that is why research is considered to be funnel process, right? Research is a funnel process, and this funnel process could always be possible with the proper help and utilization of references. And that is where this kind of references is always going to help you out. The current researcher who is doing the work, if at all he wants to refer those topics or concept anytime and every time as and when it is required to justify your research work. And at the same time, once their research work is going to be published by the publishers, and in the future researcher, wherever they will refer this paper as a part of their supporting elements, then whatever citation and references that this particular researcher who has already published their paper will always going to help to the future researcher as a part of referring those paper. And if at all this paper is also providing some informations which is making the shape of their paper onto more scientific and fundamental way, then this is also going to be the referencing and bibliography for the paper. And that is where this kind of referencing is always going to help you out to avoid the plagiarism process, right? And make your research work to be more concrete and most importantly, most effective in the market, right? And that is where you can consider your research to be ethically correct, and it would help you out to avoid the plagiarisms. So this is a research cycle, right? So whenever you are sitting for the research work, these are the various phases, right? That the beginner of the research work, the researcher is always going to pass on this stage, right? Let's say you are doing research work, right? You have started with one literature review, right? You have read one literature review, you have gone some ideas, right, out of that research paper, and you have tried to write down. So you have 100, 200 papers to refer for your research work, and then you have read all this paper, and then you have tried to write down some things or everything out of this paper, and you have tried to incorporate those things into the PCs and computers, right? So you have started writing on this part. Once you have written those things, after reaching a certain level of number of papers, let's say 30 papers, 40 papers down the line, so obviously it's a human tendency that people will forget that, what exactly they have read in the first paper, right? Because you cannot continuously read those papers on a day and night basis, right? Because out of your busy schedule being a professor and faculty, you have to perform many other administrative and academical duties, right? So this is a part-time thing that we are doing it, but yes, it is very essential, in terms of it has more weightage in comparison to the past part-time, right? We are going to be appointed for the lectures, but our evaluation is happening on research, right? So this is although contradictory thing in itself also, but yes, but we have to follow the market, right? So that is where if you read more papers, then your capacity to, digest those things is going to be over, right? So the third stage, which is called rinse, that means you are trying to eat many things out of the reading of the paper, but most of the times the things that you are trying to read is not going, or it's not going to be digestible in your stomach, right? Because it is already overloaded and flooded information that you are giving to your stomach, wherein it completely lost their capacity to digest, and ultimately it will happens like it rings. You are eating, but it is not going in your stomach. It is going to be wasted, in the surroundings, and that is where you missed out very good and most important things that you have looked up. So either if mentally, physically you are reading it, but mentally you are not grabbing it, right? That is where this kind of reading is not going to beneficial, right? And that is where you cannot incorporate your research work in a fullest manner, because although you have tried hard, but ultimately you are failed to give the proper justification of the concept and topic that you are trying to read it. And then you feel that I need to again repeat those works. And after reaching at 100, 150 paper, and again you need to go back to the first stage. It is always difficult to digest, and it is always difficult to incorporate, right? So that is where you have to repeat the entire system and entire process. And that is where this is the fourth cycle that we all need to follow it, right? So this is where write, rinse, and repeat. This is what the process. But yes, if we want to avoid this kind of process, it's always required that we should have a systematic way of writing research work, and that is where we should give the referencing and bibliography for the same. It helps to provide relevance that you have chosen a topic that aligns your interest with the existing literatures and the societal needs. It also helps you out to understand the existing research in terms of, if at all you are reading some previous author's paper, so you will also came to know how previous researcher has referred different authors for his time, and how smartly he has read those paper, and out of the paper how he has concern or how he has aligned the topic with the current needs and wants. And that is where the researcher was able to find out the research gap in a fullest manner based on the current trends and existing knowledge which is prevailing into the market, right? So if you understand the research gap for the previous researcher also, it also help you out to refer the papers, and out of this how he has incorporated those problems. So that is where you will also get an idea that what is the current trend right now, and where is the gap needs to be fulfilled. That is where you will find out 0.001% of the new things out of the market, and that is where we are doing research, right? Because in social science we are not inventing something, we are not inventing any formula, We are not inventing any chemicals, or any particular laws. We are just trying to identify the, exploratory and casual approach, causal research, right? Wherein we need to identify the qualitative parameters and quantitative parameters. So we are just researching on the existing knowledge which is there in the market, and that is where we need to understand the existing research. Define contribution. So referencing will always help you out to give the citations to the person who has clearly done tremendous and excellent work on the research work where you are working. And that is where it also help you out to give the credits to these people. And at the same time, it also help you to understand and segregate your original work. That is what I had asked the question, that if you're reading any previous researcher's research paper, how you can segregate that this is your work and this is that particular, this is the author work and this is not the author work. So it's a simple answer to this question. Wherever the citation has been given, it is the work of other, and wherever the citation has not been given, it is of work of someone else, right? So that is where we have to give some thoughts, and according to that, we have to give the proper understanding. Clear? So that is where we must have to have a clear vigilance, clear understanding, and based on that, we have to work out. Objectives: to give the credits to the previous authors for the tremendous works and efforts that they have provided for the research work, and then try to align. Can we have the mute, please? So what is the objective for giving referencing? So referencing always help you out to give the credits which has to be given to the authors, right? And that is where we should not claim that this sentence has been given by us as and when we are taking from the others. So it is always ethical practice that we should give the credit to the authors. And that is where it always helps you out to provide the areas of the topic on which we are working. So structure of your paper, right? So basically the research paper structure is which I was talking about. So basically the research paper structure is like this: introduction. This is first chapter or first topic that we have to work out. Then literature review, that is LR, is the second part. Usually, I cannot claim systematically, but usually, right? Methodology is the third one. Results and discussion is the fourth one, that is interpretation, and finding, conclusion, recommendation is fifth point, right? So usually referencing citations, you will find out in this way, this one, you will find out this one, you will find out this one, and somehow at the conclusion stage, right? Because you as I already mentioned, you are not inventing something, right? You are finding, researching, right? So if at all your conclusion is matching with some other authors who have already done the research work, not on your area, but it in some other areas, or it could be not area, then it could be other variables, right? Or it could be other parameters wherein the variables are same, right? So that is where if the results and conclusion came same, you can also cite them, right? So mostly you have the citation on this 4 platform, but this is the original work of the researcher, right? Wherein they don't have to give the citations to the authors, right? So that is the part wherein the referencing is not there. But to reach at this level, to reach at the result and analysis, the referencing and bibliography plays an important role to support your literature review, without which the literature review could not be possible. And that is where referencing and bibliography are one of the essential parameters for any papers to turn out to be qualitative, scientific, and systematic. And that is where you have to understand this, that whenever you need to put the referencing and bibliography through the systematic literature review, through the citation, it is mostly in the introduction, LR, methodology, and conclusion. You will never find the referencing and bibliography in abstract and mostly in result and discussion. Some people are also putting it, but ideally you should not put it because it's your analysis, you are interpreting, right? Where you cannot convert and compare with others. Although qualitative things you can convert, but the result is your own primary data. So usually you should not do it. Clear language. Do not use technical language, jargons, right? But where the people of other streams or ordinal people who is not this, good in terms of knowledge of your area and domain would not be able to understand and read your paper, right? So you should always take care that multidisciplinary approach of the target audience should be focused. And that is where your language should be very clear, concise, and scholarly manner. where this, the ordinary people can read it and understand. The cite sources properly. You should also cite all the sources properly. It should always match with your citation and referencing. It should not be like that you have cited some authors, but you forgot to give the referencing. It creates a deviation, right? Because if a person wants to refer that, and if you don't have a citation referencing link, the person will have to search, find it out these things, and properly you are not justifying your paper to be correct on the scientific and moral ground. That is where you have to take care. And these citations can be provided through referencing through APA, MLA, Chicago, Harvard, and many other styles that we will see to it in the later stage. Stay updated. So you should always stay updated, and according to that, you have to take out the referencing to make your work to be more original, more advanced, and updated in the current market. Reflect and improve, right? You should always think about it. You should always observe about the market, and wherein you feel that there is some needs of improvement in terms of outcomes and opportunities, to always go for the improvement in your content and the topic that you need to discuss. That is where you must have to see the reflect and improve. You should always reflect and you should always improve your work. Engage with peers. I always mention in all my workshops and seminars that research is a cumulative activity, is a collaborative activity. You should always connect with each other, wherein you find any researcher, any resource person who is good in terms of their knowledge, or you feel that it can help you out in terms of many other aspects. So you should always stay updated, wherein you have to always explore yourself to get the more opportunities in this, right? So that is where you should keep engage yourself. Engage with peers. Always attend, go for conferences, webinars, workshops, seminars, FDPs, right? When you will meet different people, you will learn from that, you will gain something out of their experiences, and that is where you will find that your doors are open for the future referencing, right? So that is where you will learn, engage yourself, and that is where you will be more competitive in the coming time period, right? And that is where collaboration is very, very important by attaching this kind of workshop, seminars, and all these things, which is having some value additions to our profile and knowledge. So this is how you can identify. So if you are targeting good quality journals, the journals are always expecting that you should have the quality referencing and bibliography. This is one journal, Journal of Retailing and Consumer Behavior, wherein the H index of this journal is almost more than 200. That means every paper of this journal has been cited minimum 200 times by the authors in the market, right? So you can understand the quality level of this journal. This is basically Journal of Marketing, wherein I'm also acting as a reviewer, right? But you can see this kind of referencing and bibliography will always create a positive impact in the minds of editors, publishers, reviewers. Most importantly, whenever your paper got published and the future reviewer, researcher is going to refer your paper, it has some, the enjoyment and the satisfaction that the research work that we have done it is up to next level, right? So obviously for that we have to work hard, but yes, after a certain period of time, it have something fruitful to be, given in your pocket, given in your basket, wherein you will enjoy those fruits in the later stage of your life as a part of academic journey and your future, right? So this is how we should focus of the quality of the work that we have to give it to your research work through the referencing and bibliography. Important site for quality referencing, wherein you are getting those, referencing and sources. You can go for Scopus, Web of Science, Google Scholar, Taylor and Francis, MDPI Journal, Sage Publication for Web of Science, right? InterScience, you can go for it, So these are the JSTOR is one of the platform, Academia, EDU, right? So these are the different platforms wherein we can always find out the different source as a part of quality referencing and bibliography. Most importantly, quality is going to be essential and important because, see, we are doing works, we are making a lot of efforts, and at the same time, it's not like that my paper is going to be published. That is my motto. But most importantly, after publication, wherever the readers are going to read my paper, there should not be some faulty things that should be came out, right? I should give my 100%. I should provide my 100% accuracy, wherein the results could be more quality in terms of acceptance, and at the same time, after acceptance, it should be error free. And that is where I'm creating a positive image into the market, in the minds of reader, in the minds of journal, in the minds of editors, in the minds of academic friends and peers, And that is where we will enjoy our job as a whole. So that is where these are the important sites, that wherever you are submitting your papers, so you should always get those papers from this kind of sources, and this kind of sources will always help you out to reach, to make your richness to be more widened, and people will start accepting your research work as a whole. I hope it is clear. So,
Yes, sir.
right.
Yes, sir.
Right. So why do we need referencing in bibliography, right? So simply to sum up, to acknowledge others' work, right? If you have taken ideas from others people, it's our moral responsibility to give them the credit, right? See, it's a give and take process. If you give citations to someone wherein actually you have taken the work from them, and if they are getting citations, their profile is updating, their visibility they're updating, and at the same time you are considering your research work to be ethically correct. So whenever you go, your paperwork is going to be published in future, and once it is going to be published, and your paper is going in the hands of future researcher, they will also follow this practice, right? So charity always begins at home, right? And we have to start from our level, right? And then only it will pass on to the coming generation, right? But if we stop doing this and we just keep trying to stole the other's idea, it will create a problem. And more importantly, I'll tell you, to avoid the plagiarism, you should always give the citations, right? Because citation always try to avoid the plagiarisms. And that is where you can always consider your work to be ethical and original, right? And that is where referencing in bibliography allows others to find the sources easily, right? So let's say if I have published a paper today and I have 100 citations, 100 referencing in my research work, and if somebody is going to refer my paper when it's got published in Scopus, right? So if he's working on the same or nearest topic that I have it in my paper, so he'll get 100 referencings to refer, right? Which is nearest to the similar, right? So what I consider is, let's out of 100, if not all referencing in bibliography is going to be useful, but at least 20, 30 references will be helpful to him or not, right? And that is where if your paper is going to be very specific in a narrow down approach, right, which we have talked about, that your reference should be very narrow down, right? It should be focused on one thing. It should not be focused on multiple things, right? And if any person is working on that particular topic, and if your research paper is almost helping his work for 20, 30% of his work, so obviously you are creating a positive impact in his mind. And that is where he'll try to give you citations for multiple times. And that is where your credibility and your goodwill in the market as a researcher is always going to be very good, and he'll have a word of mouth publicity of your research work as well. So the people will also start pursuing it, right? And that is how the person is going to increase their citations and index, right? To get the recognition and authentication of the work. So if at all you want to give recognition and authentication of your work, you have to give it, right? Because I had already mentioned that how can I differentiate that my work and other work? So other work should always get cited by giving the credit to their work in my paper as a part of citation, and the same citation needs to be reflected into referencing and bibliography, right? Wherein my work is original, there is no need to give the citation. That is data analysis and interpretation, right? Referencing, and through which you can make your work more informative, because you have cited one person for one particular line or one particular topic. But if at all in future the person is going to refer your paper, and through this they also receive that citation, right? This is called bibliographic coupling, right? I hope you are aware about this terminology. Yes, bibliographic coupling, right? If you go for bibliometrics, VOS viewer, and all this aspect, right? So this is called bibliographic coupling, right? From referencing, you are receiving referencing. That is called bibliographic coupling, right? That is where you are getting more idea in terms of more referencing. So in one paper, I have received one referencing. If I go to that particular paper, I have other 100 referencing. So I have received that particular referencing, right? So from referencing to referencing, you are moving, right? This is called bibliographic coupling. You have been cited not because that author has directly found it out to you, but you have been cited because the author has already found out one author where in his paper you were already cited, and he again take out your name as a referencing, and he find out that paper, and he found that from the paper where you have been cited and the paper that you have it, he found that instead of this paper, your paper is more useful to him. So he has given you the referencing. This is called bibliographic coupling, right? Understood? This is how the reference management is happening, right? If we feel that what is the use of it, right? But if you are working on a quality work, it always help you out in a trustical way. And that is where to trust the intellectual development of your ideas that you present through the citation that you are receiving through H-index and I-index on Google Scholar, on Scopus profile that you have it. So different types of referencing. So that is one is annotated bibliography. So this is where it provides a summary of all the listed sources that you have provided. So it consists of small description of the sources that you have taken up in terms of research topic of that particular previous authors, evaluations of the credibility, usefulness. So 2-3 lines of the description that you are writing immediately after the referencing in bibliography. That is called annotated bibliography. Selective, you are not writing the description of all the bibliography, but you are going to write and you are going to include only those bibliography which found to be more relevant and essential. Like say, if I 100 referencing in bibliography, so I'll not write all, but I'll write only 10 to 15 wherein I feel that this is more essential and more useful for this aspect. That is where it aims to list all available sources with the selective bibliographic priorities through keywords which are essential for understanding the subject matter and to justify it at this significant level. Subject bibliography, you should focus upon the subject, and according to that, you will try to get the bibliography from various books, journals, article, website, and all other relevant materials that you find to be subject matter, which is only fitting to your subject, irrespective of the technicalities of the terms. Exhaustive bibliography, it attempts to list all available sources on particular topic or subject area, which aims to provide a comprehensive overview of the literature and resources available to the researcher. The exhaustive bibliographies are often used in comprehensive literature reviews or as a reference tools for scholars conducting in-depth research on specific topic. You should write exhaustive for all the resources which you find to be most useful, right? Chronological, either you should write from year of publication from latest to last, or the most previous one to the last, or it could be from the alphabetical order from the author's name. So whatever way of filtering you find to be most useful, you will write them into chronological order, right? Just like if you are doing PhD work, your guide must be suggesting that you should write from A to Z, or you should write the referencing in bibliography from from the oldest publications to the latest publication, right? Either chronological in terms of year of publication, right? So that is how you can write. Descriptive, you are describing something out of after every bibliography that you have it, in terms of details of book history, bibliographic studies, and all other things that you found to be suitable to justify on the description, right? So what elements that you will cover in referencing in bibliography? So author's name, it always starts with the last name and first name, and the way of writing patterns are different for different style of referencing and bibliography that we are suggesting. Year of publication in which the paper has been published, title of paper, name of journal where it has been published, which editions that has been published, periodicity in terms of volume number and and series, right, if at all applicable, right? So mainly author's name, year of publication, title of paper, name of journal, volume and issue number in terms of periodicity, and page number, right, is mostly you will find out in the referencing. Formats for referencing in bibliography, you can see this. There are different formats of referencing in bibliography. You can see on this is one of my paper wherein I have put the referencing in bibliography. Yeah, so this is MLA style, APA style, Chicago, Harvard, Vancouver, right? So these are the few referencing. This is more than 30, but this is few of them as a demo from the Google Scholar, which I have taken up. And if you're going for MLA, you can see this MLA referencing style, which is applicable in which field. So mostly in English, literature, foreign language. So mostly it is applicable in communication and arts. APA style is for psychology, education, business, management, economics, commerce, nursing. That is APA style. Chicago is for history, fine arts, anthropology, philosophy. This is not exclusively, but mostly, right? It could be others also. depending upon the journal and the university guidance. But mostly this is how it is. IEEE, so IEEE is a journal papers which is Scopus indexed, right? IEEE Explore. So this is for engineering, computer science, information science. For CSE like biology, physics, chemistry, and geology, right? Yeah, so let's understand the elements. This is MLA style. So if I'm going with MLA style, you can see this. The MLA style, you can see this. This is my last name, so surname, that is first name. So full last name and first name for the first author, and full name and last name for the second author, right? So whatever number of authors that you have it, they are writing like this, and then this is the title of the paper immediately after author's name, right? This is title of the paper. This is the journal name where I have published my paper. This is ABDC journal. This is volume number 10 and issue number 1, right? So volume and issue have been depicted as V dot issue, that is volume number dot issue number, and then immediately that year of publication, and this is a page number after semicolon, right? So these are the things which you can see in the MLA style. So if you switch over from MLA to APA, you will see the drastic change, mostly from the style of volume and issue number, this one, and year of publication over here, mostly, right? Rest of the things is common. But yeah, the place of volume, issue number, and year of publication is going to shift. Let's see. Now, this is APA style. You can see this. Firstly, I had told you that you should see the year of publication. It was earlier here. Now it has been shifted here. After, and your volume number and issue number, we were writing V dot issue, right? V dot issue. But over here, V bracket issue. And after that year of publication, it was semicolon, wherein it is comma, and then page number where it has been published, right? So these are the few observations. Whenever you change the format of referencing in bibliography, this is going to happen. Chicago, you can see this again. So year of publication in APA style was here. Now again, it has been shifted over here, just like MLA style. And in MLA, volume number and issue number like V dot I. In APA, V bracket EI. And over here in Chicago, V comma, then issue number should be written like NO dot. And the year of publication again has been transferred here. And again, semicolon has appeared. So whenever year of publication will be written over here, you have to write semicolon. And whenever year of publication will reach over here, you have to write comma. Although it is a very silly observation, but it makes a sense. I hope it is clear, and I hope you are agree with that. Understood? Clear to all of you? Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So what is the difference between referencing and bibliography? So although it sounds very same, but there is a thin line of difference. So referencing means items that you have read and specifically referred. Means you have read, and referred means whatever things that you have read, it also referred means it is already useful, right? That means there is 1 or 2 lines that you have already taken up from this research, and you have cited them either in introduction, literature review, methodology, or finding and conclusion. That is where you have read those articles, and you have also referred those articles as a part of the idea that you have taken up in your research work. That is called referencing, right? So this is called referencing. When in bibliography, you have read it, right? But it is immaterial whether you have referred or not. So even though you have not referred it, you can put it as a sources, right? So bibliography are all the sources that you have read it, but you have not referred it. But although the role of bibliography is very important, because if you are saying over here, I have read it and referred it, so you will be able to refer those things, and finally you have given a place to that authors in your research paper only after having the deviation from the author that you have read it as a part of bibliography. So the person who has given the idea that this should not be the part of it, then only you have given the the place to that authors who have supported to your article, right? So bibliography is equally important for the referencing, but the only difference between references and bibliography is references are all this material that you have read it and cited in your research work, wherein bibliography are You have read it, but those things has given an idea that they are not supporting to your work, and that's why you should find out some other material wherein so bibliography help you out to narrow down your approach. And that is where bibliography plays an important role to fetch the referencing out of them, right? So bibliography is a big C, and wherein referencing are small river, right? But although it is very important to drink the water, because the essential parameter isn't there in the referencing, right? But those essential parameter has been given by bibliography. So that is where we need to understand it. I hope the meaning of referencing a bibliography is clear to all of you. Clear? Any doubt? Any questions? So what are the sources of referencing a bibliography? Books, journal, newspaper, conference, institutional publications, electronic sources or website, CD, database, thesis, report. Parameters to find out quality referencing. You should always go for good journals which have high H index, which I already mentioned for Journal of Retailing and Consumer Behavior. That is 200 H index. That is where if you refer those papers, it always being qualitative, wherein you will get a big sort of ideas. And that is where if your paper is going to be published in good journals as a part of referencing, so university ranking affiliation is always going to be increased, and universities are always looking for that. And it also helps university to get the quality assurance certificates for the same. That is where why the reasons for references and citation is: publish original, rigorous, and significant work. It's a funnel process. It helps justifying your research work to be fundamental friends to be correct. And it makes your works to be more advanced and updated through having knowledge from different authors. It always helps you out to find out good journals from the previous author's research work. If you go to one research paper, you will find multiple other research paper as a part of references. Having an idea about the quality of journal, wherein you have impact factor, immediate index, etc. And that is where you can differentiate between quality and quantity. So that's it from my side. Now I'm making this stage open for question answer. If you have any questions related to your research work, related to this session, anything you have not understood, so you can ask. Yes.
सर यदि हम लोगों को कोई रेफरेंस देना होता है तो उसको एक नंबर के अकॉर्डिंग दे सकते हैं क्या? ऐसे कि हमने कोई पहला सेंटेंस लिखा तो उसको नंबर 1 दे दिया, उसको नंबर 2 दे दिया, तो इस तरीके से हम लिख सकते हैं क्या सर?
हाँ, mainly Springer Nature journals are preferring this kind of citations. I'm telling you with the journal type also.
Yes sir.
Right. Elsewhere journals are referring the name and year of publication. Right. So the way you are planning, you can always put your paper in Springer journal. So the chances of acceptance is very high if you are going for this kind of citation and references.
Okay sir. Thank you sir.
Right. Yeah, any other questions, any suggestions, any opinion?
Sir, I have one question.
Yes, please.
Hello.
Your voice is breaking.
More journals.
Hello.
Many more journals have write on the front page peer-reviewed, Scopus, UGC CARE listed, like that. Even though they have a no proper or good impact factor. How to identify the good journals and peer-reviewed, CARE listed, UGC CARE listed, वगैरह वगैरह.
See, try to understand first. As per latest government, circular, the UGC CARE is no more in practice. So today in academic front, there are only two types of journal which has been left out. One is peer reviewed, and those who are peer reviewed with quality, they have been, assigned with the Scopus ABDC Web of Science. Right. So this is the only type of journal which is working nowadays. So UGC CARE has completely outdated, right, which was handling by Savitribai Phule University, Nasik, right. So UGC CARE has been abolished. Now, finding on the front of quality journal. So you should always look at the impact factor of the journal, right? The impact factor of the journal more than one, always find to be qualitative journal. But you also need to check along with impact factor where the indexing of the journal is happening. Let's say if you have a Scopus journal, so Scopus are all good, right? But if you see the impact factor, and if the Scopus journal are in Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, but along with that, you should see the impact factor also for identifying more quality parameters. So you should see the impact factor, right? So if any Scopus journal you are referring or you are trying to submit your paper, and if those journals are having impact factor more than one, so there again it's a qualitative parameter for the journal, right? So it's a positive sign, right? So if you're going for Scopus journal of any way, but if the impact factor is more than one, so the article that you are trying to publish, the indexing of this article is almost sure shot, right? So this kind of journals are very less chances to get even to rejected in the Scopus. Understood? So these are the scientific criteria, and every journal of Scopus that you are finding, you should always go from the authentic website wherein the Scopus identification could be possible. You should not directly go to the journal website wherein there is a chances of clone journal. So you should always refer and you should always identify the journals from the authentic source of identification of journal like SchemaGo, right? And if you want to identify Web of Science journal, so you should go into ESCI portal. And for EBDC journal, you should type EBDC journal list for 2025. You will get the list of journals wherein the link of the journal has been provided in Excel file, right? So you should always go with those links. And if somebody is claiming like your article has been published in this journal, so you can differentiate between what is the quality of what is the authentic journal, and whatever suggestion that you are receiving is a clone journal or not. So you can save yourself on from the troubles that you will have it without identification and way out of knowing this kind of journals way. So you should always be vigilant in terms of identifying those things. But yes, to identify the quality, you should check the indexing and impact factor.
Okay, sir. Got the point. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Any other questions?
Sir, I have one more question.
Please.
Sir, why we have to referencing and bibliography do separately in that our paper? If they are a little bit similar and little bit differentiation between them, after that.
See, if I need to see that to which paper you have cited, right? So I'll see the referencing clear. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
But even after reading paper, you didn't find much significant to get things from the paper. But although these people have, this paper has given an idea that what else you can identify for your research work. But in this paper has at least given an idea that what is the reason for rejection, right? So this kind of things could be any website or any journal, even books also. So they can be a bibliography, right? Although they're supporting to your article, but you have not taken up in your article, but you have referred them, right, to get into more quality works out of the other researchers. So they were the backbone to support you. That is where you can have the bibliography as well.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Right. Yeah, any other questions?
Yes, participants. Any other queries?
So I think no query.
No
thank
query.
you so much.
Thank
Yeah.
you, sir. Thank you.
Thank
Very
you.
nice lecture was.
Thank you. Thank you. Right.
Welcome. Welcome.
Thank
Sir,
Welcome.
happy Diwali in advance.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you all of you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you all of you
Thank
for
you, sir.
patient listening. Thank you so much,
Thanks a lot.
RFI, Ajay sir. Thank you, Neha madam, for coordinating today.